Level 1. The candidate. The letter doesn't say MI6. It never does. It says you've been recommended for a position with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Competitive, prestigious, deliberately vague. You almost delete it. Then you read it again. Then you don't sleep. You're 24. You have a first-class degree from a good university, a second language, and a background so clean it practically squeaks. Someone noticed. You don't know who. You won't ask. That instinct to not ask is part of why they chose you. The first interview is in a glass building near Vauxhall Bridge that doesn't look like anything. A woman in her 40s meets you in a beige room. No name, no title. She asks you about a situation from your third year at university, a specific night, a specific argument with a specific person. You never mention this to anyone. You feel the floor shift slightly beneath you, then you steady yourself, and you answer. She watches your hands. You pass. There are more interviews, psychological assessments, polygraph sessions where a man asks you in a completely flat voice whether you've ever committed treason. You say no. The machine agrees. He moves on without expression. You are vetted at a depth that makes you feel transparent. Your parents are interviewed. Your ex-girlfriend is interviewed. A neighbor you haven't spoken to in 6 years is interviewed. You won't know any of this until much later. Then, one Tuesday in November, you are told you've been selected. You sign the Official Secrets Act in a small office with 2 witnesses you'll never see again. Nobody congratulates you. You're told to come back Monday. That's it. That's the moment. No fanfare. No ceremony, just a pen, a signature, and a door that closes behind you with the specific finality of a vault. You walk out onto the street. People walk past you. A man sells newspapers. A bus goes by. Everything looks the same, but you are not the same. You don't know yet what that means, but somewhere deep down, below the excitement and the pride, something quiet shifts. It begins.
Level 2. The desk officer. You spend your first 18 months in a building you are not allowed to describe, doing work you are not allowed to discuss, with people whose surnames you do not know. Your official title is Intelligence Officer, Grade 4. You tell your family you work in government administration. Your mother thinks you process paperwork for embassies. You let her think that. Your actual work is analysis. You read cables, you read intercepts, you read field reports from places you've never been, written by people whose faces you've never seen, about situations that could kill someone within hours if misread. You synthesize. You write assessments. You send them up the chain. You are very good at it. The building has a rhythm. People arrive before 8, leave after 7. Nobody discusses their weekends in any real detail. Friendships form, but they form in a specific register. Warm, but boundaried, like people who've all agreed, without discussing it, not to know each other too well. You learn the first real rule of the service. Compartmentalization is not just a security protocol. It's a way of existing. You know what you need to know. You don't reach for more. Curiosity here is a professional liability. You go on a date with someone from outside. She asks what you do. You say, civil service. She asks follow-up questions. You deflect smoothly. You've been trained to, and she senses the deflection, and the date ends politely, and you walk home in the November rain, and you feel, for the first time, the specific texture of a life lived in partial shadow. You go back to work Monday, and you don't think about it. You file a report on a Syrian shipping route that turns out to be correct. Your section head mentions it in a meeting. Not your name, just your analysis. You sit in the back of the room and say nothing, and feel a satisfaction that has no outlet. This, you're learning, is what the work actually is. You tell yourself you're fine with that.
Level 3. The field officer. You post you to Ankara. Your cover is Second Secretary, Political Affairs. You have a small apartment near Chankaya, business cards, and a legend, a backstory so detailed it includes childhood memories you didn't have. You rehearse them until you stop rehearsing them, until they become reflexive, until you stop knowing exactly where the cover ends and you begin. Your real job is developing sources. You attend diplomatic functions. You make conversation with people whose phones you want access to.
whose loyalties you want to understand, whose handlers, if they have them, you want to identify. You are building a network out of nothing, using nothing but relationship. It takes months to produce anything useful. You meet a man at a reception, mid-level in the Turkish Defense Procurement Office. He drinks too much and talks about money problems in a way that means he's waiting for someone to offer a solution. You become his friend over 6 weeks. You run it exactly the way you were trained. You pitch him on a Thursday evening at a restaurant you chose for its noise and its exit routes. He agrees. You walk home and your hands are completely steady, and you don't know what to make of that. Your first asset, your first real piece of the machine. You file a report that evening. London cables back 2 words: well handled. You sleep 4 hours and go back to work. The second rule of the field: nothing is ever as clean as the operation looks in the debrief. The man you recruited has a wife. He has 2 daughters. He has a life that will be irreparably altered by what you've just set in motion. You know this. You file it under operational necessity. You do not think about it at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Mostly.
Level 4. The agent handler. You run 4 assets now across 2 countries. Each one has a code name. Each one has a payment structure, a communication protocol, a dead drop location, an emergency extraction procedure they hope they'll never need. You know their fears. You know their marriages. You know what pressures can be applied and how hard you can push before something breaks. You are the only person who knows all 4 of them. You carry that weight in a very specific way, not as burden exactly, more like density, a heaviness that doesn't slow you down but that you're always aware of. One asset goes quiet for 11 days. You run the contingency. You make discreet inquiries through back channels. On the 12th day, he resurfaces with a story about family illness. You believe 60% of it. You cable London with your assessment. They say continue. You continue. You have become, without quite noticing it, exceptionally good at reading people. Not in the way a therapist is good at it, in a colder way. You notice the micro-pause before an answer, the way a man's weight shifts when he's deciding whether to lie. You notice these things automatically now, at dinner parties, at airports, in supermarkets. You can't turn it off. Your section head in London, a quiet man named Hargreaves you've met 3 times in person, calls you one morning. "You're being considered for something," he says. "Yes," you say. Not what, not for what, just yes. He notes the response. You can hear it. "Good," he says, and ends the call. You have learned to want things without appearing to want them. In this service, visible ambition is a kind of vulnerability. You want the promotion, you want the authority, you want to be deeper in the machine, but you hold it still inside yourself, like a card you haven't played. The third rule: everyone in this building is reading everyone else. Act accordingly, always. Level 5. The case officer. The operation has no name on any document you can access. London refers to it in cables by a 4-digit number. The operation targets a Russian GRU officer working under diplomatic cover at the embassy in Vienna. The objective is to turn him, to make him our own, or, if that fails, to use what we know about him to neutralize a network he spent 4 years building. This is yours. You own it. You've been in Vienna 3 months. You have a cover identity that runs 3 layers deep. You have a support team you communicate with only through cutouts. You have a budget of £340,000 and authority to spend it without pre-approval below £80,000 per transaction. You make contact with the target through a curated series of coincidences: a gallery, a restaurant, a conference on Central European economics. He's careful. They always are. But careful people still have needs. His is recognition. He's been overlooked for promotion. He believes Moscow doesn't value him. You value him, visibly, specifically. You learn what he knows and you reflect it back to him dressed as admiration.
It takes 11 months. When he flips, it happens quietly. A handshake in a parking structure, a phrase exchanged, an envelope. You walk back to your car and you sit there for 4 minutes. This man is now yours, and you are the only thing standing between him and the people who would execute him for what he just did. You have not felt clean in a long time. You notice this, file it, and start the car. The fourth rule: sentiment is not the same as weakness, but in this work, the difference is administrative. Level 6, the station chief. You run the Islamabad station, 12 officers, 9 local assets, relations with ISI that are functional, adversarial, and essential simultaneously. A liaison relationship with CIA that operates on mutual suspicion dressed as partnership. A weekly call with London where you give them enough to keep them informed and hold back enough to keep them from micromanaging. You have been doing this for 19 years. People come to you now, not just officers, allied services. The Americans send their people to ask for things that can't be put in writing. You grant what you grant, withhold what you withhold, and log nothing you don't want logged. You make a decision in March that gets an asset killed. Not through error, through calculation. The asset was compromised, and extraction would have burned a network worth more than one man. You knew this going in. London agreed. You made the call. His code name was Sterling. You don't attend services for people like Sterling. There is no service to attend. He is entered into a ledger as an operational casualty. His family receives a payment through a shell 3 steps removed from the crown. You signed the authorization. You sleep that night. That is the thing that stays with you. Not that you made the decision, but that you slept. You used to be the person who didn't sleep over things like this. You don't remember exactly when that changed. The station functions with precision. Intelligence flows. Operations succeed more than they fail. Your reputation inside the service is, by this point, architectural. People build plans around what they think you'll do. Your name is shorthand for a certain kind of operational judgment. Cold, correct, reliable. You sit in your office in Islamabad at 9:30 on a Wednesday evening, and you realize you can't remember the last real conversation you had. Not operational, not professional. A real one, where you said something true to someone who knew your actual name. You file the thought. You go back to work. Level 7, the controller. You're back in London, senior intelligence officer, Directorate of Operations. You run 8 stations. You brief the deputy chief twice a week. You sit in rooms where decisions are made that will shape events that the public will read about years from now, with no understanding of how they actually happened. You are 49 years old. Your marriage ended 7 years ago, quietly. Without drama. She said you had been gone for years before you left, and she wasn't wrong, and you didn't argue. You have a daughter who is at university in Edinburgh. You speak on Sundays. The conversations are warm, but short. She knows you love her. She doesn't know who you are. Neither does anyone else you can name. The operation you've just authorized spans 4 countries. Budget is classified at a level that doesn't appear in public accounts. The objective is to dismantle a Chinese intelligence network that has penetrated 3 allied services. The window is 14 months. You've run the board 100 times. The plan is sound. But plans are always sound until they touch reality. You sit in the morning brief and you listen to officers half your age present intelligence and analysis, and you remember being them, sharp and certain and unaware of what certainty costs over time. You say very little in meetings now. You've learned that the most powerful thing you can do in a room is choose when to speak. When you do speak, the room shifts. You've stopped noticing this. That's the tell. When power stops feeling like anything, you've become it. The 5th rule, and the last one anyone teaches you: at this level, there are no more rules. There is only judgment, yours, and the question of whether you trust it. You do. That's what concerns you.